I don't hear the buzz. Look at you, technological genius today. Nope. I can hear that. Where's your mic? Is your mic off screen?
Because how's that?
Oh, that's good. That sounds great.
Is that better?
Yeah. I hear other little ones in the background.
It's a little one taking Winston outside.
Are your little ones not in school today?
He's got walking pneumonia. No.
You've got like walking
We have pneumonia has
sickness
been
in your house.
walking around our house. Yes, apparently. So it has been the doctor said today that it has been going around like wildfire, not just in Jackson, but around the entire country, like a walking pneumonia pandemic. But
Is that what
the
you
news
had?
has been, yes, that's what I had last week. So the news has, and in fact, I still don't think I'm over it. The news has been concerned with other things.
No. Let's. I'm just. You said, what did you say? You couldn't get out of bed last week?
Oh yeah, there was one day that I was in bed all day long.
Man, I don't know if I could handle that. It would break my spirit.
Oh, I did not want to get out of bed. I was so excited to sleep. I was so excited to sleep. It was amazing.
Dude.
But then you get so behind. So,
for sure.
Being sick's pretty bad, but it's okay. So the one who is homesick is a quiet, sweet little redhead. So he's not too bad to have around the house.
Does everyone know you've got two savages yourself, right?
I do. Two little wild boys.
Two little redheads.
Well, one's red, and one would argue he's not.
One's a carrot top.
He's the Neanderthal, yes.
Where's the red hair come from?
Everyone on both sides of our family. Scotch, Irish, English. All of our grandparents, both Brad's and mine, all had red hair.
Because they're freckles. They got freckles too, right?
Yeah, he has freckles. My stepdaughter has red hair. I mean, literally, it's everywhere. My mother's a strawberry blonde. It's like there are more redheads than non-redheads in our family.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
We're special.
No.
So it's a good day. And
it's a phenomenal day. Like, this is craziness.
For sportsmen and women.
Oh,
and we're not talking about the presidential election.
No, this is not about that.
It's about a referendum on the right to hunt and fish
in Florida. So let's talk about that. That was huge, pushed by Travis Thompson, All Florida, a nonprofit that Travis works with, and then obviously IOTR, the International Order of T. Roosevelt. They've taken it upon themselves, like that's their mission. They do some conservation projects on the side, but their main course of action is legitimately this idea, like, we're going to get right to hunt and fish passed in as many states as they can. And Florida was the big one, right? Because Florida, they had to get it passed the legislature last year. They had to get a certain amount of votes in the legislature. I think it was 75% of the legislature had to say yes.
Yeah, it's a legislatively referred ballot initiative. There are
Have
different
you got emails coming in? I can hear emails pinging.
Let me see if I can turn that off, and you can still hear me. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, but I can't. You can obviously not hear me because you muted yourself.
I know. If I mute my email,
just cancel the email. Just delete the. Just close the email out.
Oh, okay.
Close the program out.
Yeah. Okay. All right, done. Well. All right. Last ding.
It's so weird though. That's the thing. Like, I'm coming through your ears, but the dinging doesn't come through your ears. The dinging comes through your microphone, your speakers on your computer.
I know. I don't.
Listen, I'm going to take my victories where I can get them.
I was going to say, I cannot answer that question.
But that's the Florida process is a monstrous process because they have to go through the legislature first, and the legislature determines whether or not it gets on the ballot, and then it's a year process to the next ballot, right?
Right. Yeah, there are a number of different mechanisms depending on the state by which you can put an initiative on the ballot. And they're all different. They're all different as to how you can get something on the ballot, how many votes you have to get something on the ballot. And yeah, Florida's is pretty difficult. So that was a win, honestly, just to get the initiative to the ballot. And then once an initiative is on the ballot in Florida, it has to receive 60%
A
of the
super
vote.
majority is what they called it.
Yes, yes. It's like the United States Senate. You have to have a super majority to pass. So they have to receive 60%, which is a high threshold in
Well,
any
talk to me
state.
about the Senate. The Senate is not a 50-50 vote.
Not for most things. For most things in the Senate, you have to have 60 votes. It depends on the rule, and it depends on what they're trying to do. That's a lot longer discussion.
Yeah.
So we'll do that another time.
But
Another
you're a
time we'll
professional
walk
in
through.
that kind of stuff. That's why we
Yeah,
hired you.
yeah. So we will walk through that another time and break it down. But yeah, that's not government 101. That's government
But they didn't just
909.
eke over the 60% majority.
No,
I think they got like 67% or 68%.
67.3%. Yeah,
Jeez.
they got a huge supermajority. In fact, almost 7 million voters voted yes on Amendment 2, and 3.3 voted no.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was weird, honestly, that it gained as much traction, that the anti-movement gained as much traction because they tried to make passing this amendment, they tried to make the messaging appear as if by passing this right, it would take away other things.
It was going to
which
be a
is
free-for-all is what
yeah.
I said. Like a free-for-all. You can fish how much you want. You can kill whatever you want.
Well, and that they would lose environmental protections, which is not right. I mean, that's not correct. All of the different regulations, species regulations, environmental protections, everything else are still in total and full effect. And both the Florida Department of Environmental Quality and the Wildlife Agency still have regulatory authority based on science. So, but no one can take away the general right to hunt or fish. So it adds a layer of protection to the citizens down there. So yeah, we're celebrating. It's a great effort down there.
So let's talk a little bit, because we've had this conversation over email a little bit, and I'm very curious to this, and maybe you are a lawyer, recovering attorney, as you like to call it. What is, and if you don't know, that's okay, but I'm curious to the legal implications of this when, say, Florida, the anti-hunting lobby in Florida decides we're going to put a ballot initiative in place to ban, I don't know, let's just say something, whatever, turkey hunting in Florida. Okay. They have to, obviously we'll have to go to the legislature, which is it's a tough hurdle to get over, number one. Is it at that point that the statute, the constitutional amendment, comes into play?
Yes, because now of this amendment, that is when I think that the Legislative Legal Counsel will advise the legislature, those members, whoever would, be dumb enough to try and make this sponsor this, they would say, we're sorry, that piece of legislation is unconstitutional.
And if they decide to move forward with that, who sues who?
Well, I honestly don't think it would. I don't think it would get to that point. I mean,
That's true.
Let's just for the sake of argument say that there is a member that was dead set on pushing this through, and suddenly Florida's legislature turned anti-hunting. We're not going to use party affiliation here, but let's say they turned anti-hunting, and we had a majority of members willing to try and push this through, and they ignored their legislative council. Then I think that groups like us, I mean, we would have to have sportsmen's groups step up and try to. We would file some sort of injunction or declaratory judgment by the court saying no, this is an unconstitutional.
So really, this puts two things in place. Number one is like, oh, FYI, do you really want to step into these waters? And then two, a a statutory constitutional piece of legislation that you can take to a judge and go, that's not right.
Exactly. So it doesn't mean that there won't be species that are potentially taken off the table due to their status as threatened or endangered. I mean, the Wildlife Agency will still regulate things based on the best available science. I mean, it doesn't mean it's a free-for-all, but it does add a layer of protection from, I don't want to say the crazies, but from the crazies and from the anti-hunting community that wants to pass baseless legislation.
Yeah, and it also doesn't mean, let's go to the counter, it also doesn't mean that all of a sudden, because we don't hunt black bears in Florida right now, that we have a right to hunt black bears.
Right, correct. Yeah. So, I mean, we would obviously like to see this passed in every state. And hopefully one day they will be. Now, not every state has a ballot initiative anymore. I mean, for example, the right to hunt and fish was passed in Mississippi, but we no longer have a ballot initiative process.
Whoa. So somebody called me today, based on what we're about to talk about, and said, can you get rid of a ballot initiative process in a state? And you just said that Mississippi did.
So it's a very, very strange situation here in Mississippi. And it kind of raises my tail feathers a little bit.
Okay.
So we currently we still technically have it via the legislatively referred process, but most states, including Mississippi, we used to have a straight citizen-led ballot,
just like Colorado
process. Yes.
Was it also based on a percentage of votes that you needed from the last election?
From the previous gubernatorial election, I believe it was you had to get one more signature than the number of voters who voted in the last gubernatorial election, something like that, or 50%, something like that.
Okay.
And the last big citizen-led ballot initiative was the medicinal marijuana push. And our Supreme Court ruled that because it was written while we still had 5 congressional districts, and at the time it was passed, we had shrunk to 4 because it's based on your population, the population of the Senate. So the census. So Mississippi's population had shrunk, and so we lost one of our congressional districts. So at the time that this went forward, we were down to 4. But when the ballot initiative process went through, it was written based on 5 congressional districts. So it was a technicality. It was very much a technicality, not because we didn't get, or I say we, I wasn't involved at all, but because they didn't get the number of signatures.
You weren't the person championing the picket line for medical marijuana? Oh, okay.
I wasn't. I wasn't involved at all. And so our Supreme Court, and they are elected, not appointed, they ruled that we no longer had that it was invalid and that it could not go forward. And so now, until the legislature fixes the language and changes the law, we are out of luck here in Mississippi. And I think that every state should have a process by which citizens can place something on the ballot. Now, I think it should be arduous. I think it should be a very, very difficult process. But I think that if something is important enough to the citizens of a state, that they should be allowed to move something forward.
So, Cody, your predecessor, was of the exact same position. He was very much in favor of democracy, and ballot initiatives is democracy. However, it needs to be arduous. It can't just be frivolous.
Right.
I.e., we don't like this beer, so we're going to ban this beer.
Right.
And unfortunately, the other piece of legislation the other amendment that we're watching was Prop 134 in Arizona. did not pass.
And it was such a good one.
44.9% versus 57.3%. Okay. I think my math was wrong there, but anyway, something along those lines. That required, I think it's called extra initiative, ballot initiative measures or something. I'll look it up right now. But that's what it said. It was like, we want to make this more arduous for people.
Right.
And I don't have it anymore. Oh, well.
Well, it would have required a certain percentage, I think 15%.
Correct.
Representation from every county in the state.
Correct.
I thought it was great because
makes sense.
It does make sense. Because, for instance, in Colorado, when the wolf reintroduction was passed, it was passed by 1%, and 8 counties carried that initiative. They were, of course, the 8 urban counties around Denver.
Boulder, Telluride, some other, I can't remember the other ones. Colorado Springs.
And it was as if the rest of the state, the ones who had a vested interest in where the wolves were actually being reintroduced, didn't even have a say.
Mm-hmm. No, and honestly, I was quite perplexed in that there were a couple of people that responded to that little video that we had on 134 with Howell, and they said, I'm going to vote no because I don't want my vote to be devalued. And I was like, your vote is super valued right now, unfortunately. That's the problem. Your vote is not equal. Your vote is much more superior than somebody out in the rural county. Yours may not be specifically you, my man, but the populace in general is much superior to the rural counties.
Right. I mean, I would hope that most people want, if you say the will of the people, that's a generality only in terms of the fact that you want the best representation from the electorate as a whole. So I hate to see that Arizona's proposition did not pass. I think it probably got lost in the shuffle. There's a lot going on. This election, and Arizona was kind of a hotbed. I mean, we still don't know a lot of the results from Arizona.
What?
So do you want to talk about Colorado?
Before we go there, do you know of any place though that has had a ballot initiative process that has removed it from their voting process? Like, I know Mississippi doesn't have it just because of a technicality right now, but has...
Well, but I mean, the technicality was, that was a choice by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but if they fix the technicality, you would have the ballot initiative back.
I mean, it would have to go, the legislature would have to fix it, and I still don't know if it, there's a lot that would have to happen. There's a long process that would have to happen, which is why it hasn't in quite a number of years. So, I think it was a deliberate choice on the part of the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter because we won.
That's right.
Colorado 127 has taken the air out of the room literally for the last 8 months.
It's been a lot.
And for us, even before that, we started Lionheart 3 years ago. And it was for this idea of looking around the corner of what's coming. We knew it was coming. They went for it at the commission level. They didn't get it passed. They went for it at the legislative level. It didn't pass. And then they gave themselves an 18-month respite between that and when the initiative process got started back in November of last year. And we could have released Lionheart last year.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know why we didn't. Honestly, I don't think it was purposeful. I think we just got super busy and I was like, I'll just hold it for a little bit longer. And then everything happened. And I was like, oh man, now let's think, when are we going to drop it to use it to our advantage?
And it was great timing.
Great timing.
To backtrack real quick, apparently, and I'm on Ballotopedia, there are 24 states that do not provide for citizen-initiated ballot measures.
Correct. No, there's lots.
26 that do. Yeah.
But did they start with one and then got rid of it, or just never had it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna look into that. And it has a little note about Mississippi's weird situation.
Oh,
But that is interesting. Okay, so yeah, so Lionheart was very fortuitous.
yeah. For Miss who I sent Lionheart to, and decided not to watch it until she saw it in the theaters.
I wanted to wait for the big screen.
No, you didn't. You were
Yes,
way
I
too
did.
busy.
No, that's not true. I was for a while. For a while, I was too busy, and then I decided, well, we're so close to the big screen debut.
Shit, it
I
was
will
so
see it
good
in
on the big
all its
screen.
glory.
It was so good on the big screen.
It is so good on the big screen. We need to have some more limited releases across.
Well, now that we've won, it may be worthwhile taking it on the road a little bit and doing a road party a little bit.
I would be in favor of that.
Well, we've got a big LED screen now that we've got for conventions, so we don't have to necessarily do it in a theater. We do it in someone's backyard. So whoever's listening to this podcast, you got a backyard that we can set up in?
And Wire and Water. And there's some other ones. Hey, I think that, I mean, the ones you just showed at Sika.
Oh, yeah, we got some great films coming at Sika show. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, it looked like a lot of fun.
Oh, New Zealand was good. It's obviously everyone knows me and they know Blood Origins and they know how hard we work. And yeah, 5 days on the ground, probably 3.5 days of travel in total for 5 days on the ground. But super worthwhile. Mr. El Presidente of New Zealand, he's the Prime Minister. It's a different system. Somebody was asking me, like, well, how is it different? Well, I said, well, you don't vote for the person. You vote for your party in the district, and then your party, then however many people are voted from your party, they get their seats in Parliament. And if you get the majority of the seats in Parliament, then that party votes who they want to be as their candidate. And Chris Luxton is former CEO of New Zealand Air. I don't think anybody knows that. He's like a Trump guy. Not a Trump guy, but he's a business guy.
Yeah.
No history of politics. Joined the National Party. And he arrived at the Sika show. And I was told to be in the Sika Foundation's booth with Cam Speedy, who's our big contact there. And I stood there. And the Secret Service came down the aisle, and the police came down the aisle, and here comes Chris Luxton, and shook Cam's hand. He shook my hand. I introduced myself. I've got a little video of me introducing myself. And he goes, I've met you before, haven't I? And I said, no, sir, but you've probably seen me online. And he's like, oh, okay. You're famous or something, right? He said.
So cool.
Oh, my gosh.
So very cool. The picture, it looked like they had a great turnout.
It was a great show. It was like much bigger than I expected. Lots of vendors, lots of people from New Zealand. Great outdoor, indoor, great food trucks. That was the one thing that was amazing. The food trucks that pulled up to this event, they were like mussel fritters and poke bowls, really super nutritious, super healthy stuff that you typically don't get in a convention center, right?
And you definitely don't get in America.
No, it was great.
That sounds amazing.
It was amazing. So, and then we just had a lot of people.
Do Australians come over to shows in New Zealand? Like, do they go back and forth? How does that work?
I didn't see many people from Australia there. I think as the show grows, I think they'll attract more people and more outfitters and more booths and stuff. Maybe if they expand it by a day, that may be. It's, Saturday, Sunday kind of event.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how long or how bad the travel was or would be.
I traveled 28 hours to get there.
You're unusual.
But it's not bad, the travel, but I think as they grow, I think that their recognition will get bigger and bigger. And I think what I loved about it is we've been in New Zealand since 2020. So when we put our foot on the map, and interestingly enough, we did a film in 2020 called Tarmageddon. That was our first talking head that put our foot on the map in New Zealand. And I met the guy from Doc. I don't know if I told you the story or not. Met the guy from Doc who was in charge of killing all the tar. He was in the audience that watched Snow's piece of him talking about how he vigorously defended against the government. This guy was the government. And I said to him, I asked him, I said, did you see my Tarmageddon piece in 2020? He was like, oh yeah, a lot of people sent it to me. And I guess a lot is like 200 or 300 people. And he told me, he said, yeah, you got your facts wrong. And in my brain, I was like, I didn't get my facts wrong. I'm pretty confident in what I say and the research that I've done behind it. But I just was like, oh, okay, that's good, Anyway, it was cool because.
Did you get your facts wrong?
Oh no!
Oh no! Okay.
No.
Okay.
But because that happened in 2020, we've been 4 years. We haven't been. We went to New Zealand last year, obviously, to do the Seeker piece and Snow's piece and the Wapiti piece, but we didn't interact with anybody. This time it was an interaction venue, right? And hundreds of people like, oh, hey, how you doing? Thank you for what you've done for New Zealand. It was incredibly humbling.
Good. Is that the first time the Wapiti piece has been shown?
No, not the Wapiti piece. The Wapiti piece is live. It's public. Okay. You can go find it. Just type in Field and Wapiti Foundation. You'll see it on our YouTube. But Snow's piece, nobody's ever seen Snow's piece except Snow and I and us. And then Kaimanawa is the Seeker Foundation video. Nobody had seen that either.
Okay.
So we debuted that on Friday night, and then we debuted the Seeker piece at the Seeker show on Sunday morning at 10 a.m.
Okay. Can people see that? Can they
Nope.
Nope. Will they be able to anytime soon?
One day.
One day. You're always so cryptic with these
Snow, releases. I think we're going to release Snows in November. We'll release it by the end of November. And then I think the Seeker piece we will keep till probably January.
Okay. So soon.
We're going to let so right now I know the New Zealand Deer Association, so they've got a big deer association there. They're going on a little bit of a road tour with the Seeker Foundation, and they're using the film as like a fundraising tool for them there. Okay. So we're going to let them soak on that for a little bit longer before we give it to everyone.
Okay, good. Well,
so did you stay up last night and watch the Colorado results?
Well, I think you know that I did not, because I had to binge all myself. After.
Gosh, they got to a point where it just slowed down to like, it took forever to get from 55% reporting to 60% reporting, and that was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, all right, I'm out of here.
I know. I mean, I think we knew with almost certainty that it was going to fail, but yeah, I could not keep my eyes open. So woke up to very exciting news, and
yeah, it was. Look, I was very optimistic the entire time. I told everyone, whoever asked me, I said, we're going to win. We're going to win. And I think I was very confident because, number one, I remember the wolf thing, and we were just getting started with Blood Origins at that point. We hadn't really gotten involved. We didn't know how we were going to get involved with things like that. And I never saw this press. I didn't see the signs in the yards, the signs in the highways, all of that kind of stuff, which makes a difference, right? Think about it. And I didn't think about it until I voted yesterday. Like, I voted in my little local elections, and why did I choose candidate A for the local school board? Because I saw her sign.
Right. Name recognition.
Name, boom, boom. Okay, cool. And even on one of the comments today, somebody said, I tried to call my sister yesterday about voting no. She lives north of Denver, but she had voted already, and she had already voted no because even though she doesn't hunt, she understands how conservation works.
Right. And that's what it's about. I mean, you don't have to be a hunter to believe in the conservation part of the equation. The event at the Capitol, there were so many people involved with this victory. It was... the sportsman's community really came together on this one from across the country. And I think that that's what made the difference. I mean, Dan Gates and Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management led the charge within the state, but Health for Wildlife, so many other groups, Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation, Ducks Unlimited, groups from across the country recognized that what happened with Proposition 127 could and probably would affect everyone else in the hunting community across the country and in other states. Because if it had passed, then the people that put this on the ballot, that initiated this effort, would start doing the same thing in other states across the country, because they're highly organized, they're very, very well funded, and it honestly doesn't. I don't think they care about the species. They would just look to whatever state and just pick one based on what they think would pass in that state.
I think you nailed it on the head. And I think this is, a piece of rhetoric that I don't think we've ever explored. And it's worth exploring in the future, just from a theological thought process perspective. Is, do they really care about wildlife at the end of the day? Especially if you look at the knock-on effects of what happens to that wildlife when management is removed. And I told you about that professor that we interviewed in Spain, and he said it so perfectly. He said, the greatest perversion, and I love the word perversion because it has such a connotation to it. The greatest perversion of animal welfare is to pull humans out of the system and not to manage it.
Yeah. Well, once we were involved, I mean, like, you can't. The problem is there is an interplay now between humans and wildlife. I mean, we can't backtrack millions of years.
100%.
We're all
and
in
it's
it
not
together
getting
now.
better, and it's
not
never
getting
going to get better.
No, I mean, wildlife-human interaction is only growing more and more and more frequent as our species increases, and so we have to manage the interplay between the species, and we let our emotions come into play. Look, I do it. We all do it. I love this is a joke. This is not a joke. It is a joke because of what species it is. But I have a particular species that I enjoy watching. They can be destructive, but they're the cutest little creatures. And
Are
we
you
all have
talking about your pet pigs?
No, I love beavers. I think they're so cute. They're so cute. They're fuzzy and they make these little noises, and they're all over Instagram and their little tails. And if you're a hunter and you're supposed to hate them and want to kill them, and we joke with Drew and everybody else, but like I love them, and so I don't particularly like seeing them shot or killed, and I know I'm supposed to, but like everybody has a certain species I think that they have a soft spot for. Some people it's squirrels, whatever, whoever. No, I mean, I have pet pigs, but I happily eat bacon all the time and have would have no problem slaughtering a pig. I just don't kill my own, but I might one day. I mean, I will. If one of them passes away, we will probably celebrate his life and roast him. I'll get some emails to this, but now anyway. So they just, and like, we just play on people's emotions, and people get particularly attached to, I think, certain creatures and the way they look, and try to, want to domesticate them or make them a certain way. I mean, and a lot of it has to do with where we grew up, how we grew up. I mean, for instance, Americans, we're in love with elephants, and yet in Africa, they are causing just catastrophic destruction and killing villagers left and right, and hurting people's children and destroying their livelihood and
destroying habitat
and crops. And I mean, just, the debate over the choline situation to help with the drought.
Look at you talking about African elephant culling situation.
Well,
love it.
I mean, it's just crazy to me that all of these European countries, and I think that we as America are on the periphery of it. I hope we don't wade in, but are trying to tell these countries in Africa what to do with their elephants. I mean, it's, this is just part and parcel for, the PETA folks and the anti-hunting folks. They just fixate on particular species, and they're like, well, we're not going to wade in on deer, but the mountain lions that's bad. So there's no rhyme or reason. So same with bears. So
yep. Well, we definitely have a wave. We were watching carefully last night. Florida won, Colorado won, and it's like, whoa.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big day. It's a big day to celebrate.
Has there ever been a time where the anti-hunting establishment has been on the back foot like this?
Not for a long time.
Not for a long time. Exactly. Well, pat yourself on the back. You
Pat
came
yourself on the
into Blood
back.
Origins at the time when we were crusading for this and helped us and pushed us and organized Denver. Thank you.
Riding on your coattails. Everyone's hard work that they've been working on this. But everyone should go pour a glass of wine tonight and watch Lionheart. If you have not, you can find it on YouTube. And it's a beautiful movie, and it will warm your heart, and it will make you even more excited about the defeat of Proposition 127 in Colorado.
100%. Well said. All right, go. Till next time.
See you later. Bye.